Hi everyone, this is your overview for week 6 in English 101, College Composition. Here is your to-do list. You'll see that you have a little chunk of reading there to do in your textbook. This chapter 6, is called Making and Supporting Claims. Now, some of you actually might have seen me make a comment in your paper, like maybe I highlighted something and I said, this claim needs to be supported with evidence. So in a minute, we'll talk about what that means. What does it mean to make a claim as part of an academic argument? You're also going to put together the rough draft of your analysis and synthesis paper. I think a lot of you have a very good start on that. You've already identified the third resource that you're going to use, and I've made comments about whether that's an appropriate one to use or whether you might have to go find another one. But I know that you've been thinking a lot about the key things that you want to extract from these readings in order to put together this article. So Wednesday, rough draft, post that. Please make sure it's complete. You have an introduction, a body, a good conclusion. Don't worry too much right now about your citations. That will be something that you really need to focus on for your final submission, which will be next week. And then you'll be offering peer review to 2 other people. We'll see if Canvas can get on the ball and assign everybody 2 people to peer review. I think I might have worked out the kinks. Okay, so that's what you have to do. Rough draft and peer review. So this is a word we've tossed around a lot. Argument. Well, what exactly? Let's just nail this down so everybody knows what we're talking about. We're not talking about, fighting or conflict. We're talking about stating a particular stance or your take on a topic. Now, what I've written here makes it sound a little bit like it's an opinion piece, but it's much more complex, much deeper than that. This stance or claim is your contribution to this current conversation that is being conducted by the leading experts in the field on this topic. So it's important for you to know, as part of this argument, what are the experts saying? And that's why you have started with the 2 papers that you chose, and then added a third. So those are the other voices in this particular conversation, and you are going to add your own. Now, let me make it clear that joining the conversation, just like when you're sitting around with your friends, you don't just say, oh yeah, I agree with that, and just leave it at that. I mean, everybody looks at you like, okay, and so if you want to enter this conversation in your paper, you need to have a position and you need to have something to back it up. Now, the reason that I've chosen this topic of student loan debt is because I know that a vast majority of you have at least some experience with this topic. And your personal experience is a great sort of in a way to move into this conversation. So by all means, feel free to say, my experience has been this and such, or something related to that. That's ethos. That's the credibility of the writer. So in a sense, this is going to be a conversation or a discussion among 4 different people, you and the 3 other authors or groups of authors. So how would you sit there and go back and forth about these particular topics that you're going to extract from this paper? When we say claim has actually a lot of different definitions, but for our purposes, it's just a statement. It's a fact. It's not an opinion. It's something that we are asserting that can be supported with credible evidence. So if I say the sun will rise at 5:42 a.m. this morning, I'm making a claim, and I can back that up with credible and reliable evidence. All right? So you are going to be making some claims based on what you're reading in these sources. And that's why citing your sources is so important, to show your readers that the evidence you are using is sound, it's reliable. One more thing I want to talk about before I stop today. Part of the instructions for this assignment said it must include a thesis statement. Now, I'm relying on the fact that you have written thesis statements before, right? But let's just go over one more time what exactly goes into a good thesis statement. It needs to be specific. It needs to tell your readers exactly what you will be covering in your paper. And so because of that, it's almost always positioned very close to the beginning of a paper. So in your introduction, you lay the groundwork, you create the context for the facts that are going to come later. And usually at the end of the introduction, whether that's 1 or 2 or 3 paragraphs, you summarize basically what you're going to cover. It's not like, a movie review where you don't want to, include a spoiler, right? This is different. You need to include everything in the thesis that you're going to cover. And the thing is, a thesis is a great tool to help you stay on track. When you get tempted to go off in all different directions, your thesis statement will always keep bringing you back, which isn't to say that the thesis statement cannot be changed. So let's say that as a part of your research, you do find another avenue, to pursue some new information, and you include that as part of your argument. You do need to go back and tinker with your thesis statement just a little bit to make sure that it accurately reflects the content of your paper. Okay, I hope that helps you out. So I've just dreamed up a little example of what your thesis statement might sound like for this paper. Students who incur student loan debt may experience a wide range of mental health outcomes as a result of that debt. Variables such as race, socioeconomic status, and the amount of the student loan debt may influence the severity and personal impact of a student's mental health issues. Students' mental health issues may also have a significant impact on employment and potential earnings. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I would have to do a little more research, but I'm just throwing that out to you as an example of what your thesis statement might sound like. And then readers know that in this paper, they're going to see some credible evidence that outlines the different types of mental health issues student loan debt may cause, or that there's a correlation between student loan debt and mental health issues, and that there is some sort of a statistical connection or correlation between the amount of debt and either what or how severe students' mental health issues may be, and that mental health issues may have an impact down the road on things like future employment or earnings, the types of jobs or careers that a student might choose to have if they're dealing with mental health issues as a result of student loan debt. So that would be the outline for my paper if this were my thesis statement. I just want to point out a couple of things. You'll notice that I said students who incur student loan debt may experience a wide range of mental health outcomes. Keep in mind that it is impossible to, I'm doing air quotes, prove anything having to do with human beings. Human beings, mentally, cognitively, emotionally, physically, are far too complex to actually prove anything. But what studies do is suggest that there is a preponderance of evidence. There is a significant amount of evidence to suggest that there may be a connection between, X and Y. So we have to be really, really careful with our language. And as you read these sources, be aware of how the writer, the author, or the researcher is expressing the outcomes of their research. They're very careful to make sure that they're expressing it correctly. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out as you begin to put your paper together. Once again, if you have any questions at all about this assignment, about working with your sources, about anything, you can meet me on Mondays between 11 and 12 on the Canvas course site. I'll be in the chat room. Remember, you can always contact me pretty easily through the inbox on our Canvas course site, or post a question to the Ask the Instructor discussion thread. So you have a lot of opportunities to get a hold of me. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to reading the rough drafts of your papers, and I will talk to you later.